Is Russia about to change the game? Are they about to change the nature of the conflict in Ukraine? Will this lead to a bigger, broader war? Something more? What's happening is that supposedly Russia's knuckling under the pressure of the so-called independent republics of Donetsk and Luhansk, as recognized by Russia and a few other countries, to have referendums to join Mother Russia. It has to make them an integral part of Russia, and to include certain other regions also under Russian occupation at this time. What this means, my friends, is that if anybody attacks these regions after that point in time, Russia will interpret that, anybody else recognizes or not, Russia's going to interpret that as an attack on Russia. And therefore, they're no longer under this special operation, but a whole new regime. And maybe that's what they're banking on. My friends, this is Greg Allison from Green Greg. It's coming to you on September 22. Time on deck is 2040 hours Central Daylight Time. My friends, 2200, excuse me, 2240 hours Central Daylight Time. My friends, I got to tell you this. We are looking at an escalation of what's happening. We are looking at this becoming a regular war, and perhaps getting NATO involved, because there's a lot of things that Russia said was crossing the red line. And now if Ukraine uses the assets we're giving them to fire into this new territory of Russia, NATO centers may be targeted too, maybe, possibly. Now, it could be that one of the things that Russia is going to do is start back a draft, so they'll have more soldiers through conscription. Now, bear in mind, Russia's put a couple 100,000 troops into Ukraine. Russia's had a military of like 800,000, so they've only used about a quarter of their military, even though they've been supposedly desperately searching for troops, going to prisons and such things. And maybe it's the kind of troops that they can use under the guise of special operations. I don't know. Our troops have other commitments in other areas too. But if they start a draft, then there's a whole new prospect for a lot of troops coming on board. And look, guys, this is September. They could have these troops trained. They could go through a 6-week basic training. They may even do 4 weeks. But a 6-week basic training, and be ready when the frost hits in Ukraine. So one of the big troubles, one of the big problems that Russia had, they made a huge mistake, a big blunder. They waited to spring breakup, the thaw season, to invade, which meant Ukraine was a mud hole, a mud pie. Ukraine's got some of the worst mud in the world, and mud is not conducive to an armored invasion. You get stuck. The Russians discovered that all their vehicles had to run on the highways. We're putting columns of tanks on the highways, makes them sitting ducks. Tanks need to be running across the field, not constrained in a big long line on a highway, which makes them a lot easier to take out. You take out the lead tank, you take out the back tank, and the rest are stuck. You just sit there and blink them off at will. I mentioned that months ago when this invasion started, how that was silly, and that was confirmed by my good friend, General Ken Krosniak. So now we're coming into a new season. It might mean a lot of difference. You got to also bear in mind, the Russians had the Ukrainian troops are pinned down with withering artillery fire until such point in time as the HIMARS took out the supply depots that the utility that the artillery was being supplied from. One of the weak points of the Russian supply system was they were using railheads and warehouses at railheads to warehouse and supply the artillery to the artillery pieces in the field. And the artillery pieces were mobile, heavy armored pieces, which works good if the ground's not mud. So they've been in a season of mud and muck. Now, it may be that they can distribute and break down their supply chains and move them around more when things freeze over. So this all may be a matter of timing. Putin he probably had 2 bad pieces of intel when he went in. One was that the Ukrainians would fold over real fast, and the people would recognize Mother Russia as the liberator and celebrate them coming in and have a big celebration. And 2, the worst thing was his military told them how great they were, except they weren't that great. They were short of a lot of stuff because of internal corruption. But you get in a system like that. They had a lot of corruption internally within the military, and the equipment wasn't up to standard. All this stuff was missing. Pieces and parts were not there, and you can't neglect maintenance in a military unit and expect it to operate. It will not. I've got stories about that I can tell you myself. How I nearly got sent to Iran in hostage crisis back in Carter days with inadequate equipment by a long shot. It would not have worked. I was in a unit with 200 rifles, 250 people, and only 40 of the rifles actually functioned for penny little detent springs, for cartridge pin ejection springs, for extractor springs that pull the cartridge out, the chamber, just little penny things like that. That was all it was, and just couldn't get them. Spare parts mattered. But anyway, all that said, we could say game changer now. If Russia mobilizes their industry, everybody says, well, they don't have any more high-tech missiles, they can't get computer chips. And man, I need them. If they can put enough artillery in the field, then they could produce wither and fire once again and pin the Ukrainians down, possibly. Now, see, here's the difference. Ukraine has got people on their home turf fighting for their homeland, and yeah, they're going to put up a good fight. The Russians did not have that home turf advantage. But what Russia does have is people, materials, manpower. Russia's a bigger country. If you look at this war, if it becomes a war of attrition, and if Russia is committed to winning it, which seems like it may well be the case, Ukraine can't stop it. Ukraine can't stop it. This is like the war between the states here in the United States. The South was winning. Wow, we did real good from this area for, the first couple of years, up into the Battle of Gettysburg. And we were actually winning that battle until General Lee made a huge mistake with Pickett's charge. Had he not made that mistake, the South might possibly have done a lot better in that war, at least held out longer than they did. But the South lost in a war of attrition over the long term. And the end of that war, the Southern Confederate soldiers were 13-year-olds and old men, and a lot of badly injured people. So, and without any materials to fight with, they were undermanned and under-equipped. And yeah, we've been putting a lot of stuff in Ukraine, but can we supply it as well, as fast? And can we do the manpower rush? I mean, already Ukraine is into conscription, and they're talking about October, having conscription of the women to go in October. And it's about the time, what I said, when they start getting freeze in the ground, and when the Russian tanks and equipment can suddenly roll again. Yeah, I think they understand that dynamic, that they're going to be under more pressure again come the freezing season. The freezing season may be cold indeed for them and Western Europe. So I'm not taking sides here on this video, guys. I'm just laying it out there. I'm just talking about what could happen and how this can go down. We may see a turn of the tide. I mean, it could be that this is what Putin's been banking on all along, that they've been planning for this. I just did a video talking about how the a lot of the people in the Russian media and a lot of their hardliners are clamoring for a full-scale war. A lot of them are. So, don't say I didn't tell you that. But also what you need to know, this little lady that I have mentioned to you a couple times before on my channel, named Margarita Simeon. She is the editor-in-chief of RT, which is short for Russian Times, which is a state-run news media out of Russia. And she's a real close associate of Vladimir Putin. And she had something very striking to say about this. This is her analysis on this topic, and I'm going to quote her directly. She said, judging by what is happening and still about to happen, this week marks either the eve of our imminent victory, or the eve of nuclear war. Wow, big statement. Either we're going to win, or we're going to win anyway through nuclear war. Putin has said before, way back, a decade ago, that he anticipates that they would have a nuclear war with the United States, and he has said that he'd win it. Suddenly in the last few months, he repaired it Biden's statement, the Western leaders said, "Oh, a nuclear war can never be fought or won." He was probably just playing a lip service because he has himself said on numerous occasions that Russia could fight and win a nuclear war. If you don't believe that, see my videos with Dr. Peter Vincent Pry and subsequent videos I have done on that topic, stating how Russia could win a nuclear war. So, guys, I'm not going to go all into that now. I'm going to cut this video short because here's what you need to know. Vladimir Putin is going to make a speech tomorrow morning, apparently, and lay out whatever his grand plan is. I don't know what he's going to say. My imagination is going wild. I could speculate. I got things in mind, but he's going to make some very interesting points. And after that, I would expect to see some changes. So I'm going to have David Pine back on my channel, hopefully tomorrow night. Now that's the plan. We're discussing an interview with him tomorrow night. In fact, he may have just emailed me. I heard my email ping a moment ago. No, he hasn't replied yet, but we were talking about tomorrow night. So I'm expecting to have him on my channel, and we'll go through this. We'll talk about this speech, what it means, some of these ramifications. You got to remember, David Pine's a close associate, Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. We're all members of the EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security. I'm the Alabama State Director. He is the Deputy Director of Operations under Glenn Rhodes, and the new head of the organization is Cynthia Ayers. I'll get her back on here. I'll get her on the channel real soon, Cynthia. So, guys, we got a lot to talk about. Subscribe to my channel, bang that notification button, and click off. I'm also going to have Scott McIntosh on probably the 29th this month, talking about the activity of the sun. While we're expecting the sun is going to have a very active cycle this cycle, and we better be watching out for solar flares. If you're not already watching out for them, you're not paying attention. Guys, we're living in perilous times. It's reading a lot like the Four Horsemen are riding. You know what I mean? Please subscribe to my channel, make that notification bell, and click off. And oh yeah, by the way, I do have that special, another special running on the long-term food stores. Go to prepwithgreg.com. The $250 off. That was the best special in 3 years. If you didn't get that, sorry guys, it's over. But they still have a really deep special, 20% off the 3-month supply. And I think it's like $50 off the 1 month supply, the 4-week supply. There's go check it out, prepwithgreg.com. Still an awesome special, but and this one looks like it's about to be over soon too. They got a timer on it, so prices are going up. They can't keep doing this for long, guys. So check it out. And I am selling worms again. Ringgraves.com. Ringgraves.com. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and Greg out.